Hi, today we have original Nintendo Switch, which works perfectly fine with one exception or two exceptions, which is the controller drift. I'll show you that quickly. As you can see, it has its own life. So let's try and calibrate this one. You see this? So it's just really bad. Like this one is pretty much gone. The other one is slightly better, but also has some drift to it. So I'm not sure you'll be able to see. Yeah, as you can see, it's kind of slow. Can be slow returning back to its original position. So yeah, apart from that, this works perfectly fine. It's in pretty good condition. So yeah, we'll go ahead and replace these sticks with new ones. So these are the JoyCons. I'll start with left one. Right one is pretty much exact same process. So what you'll need to do, you'll need to remove 4 Nintendo tri-wing screws from here. Once the screws are removed, just use a spudger or some prying tool to separate the two pieces. Just be careful, there's ribbon cables underneath, so don't try to pull it apart completely. Okay, so this is separated now, so just put the rail down, keep the rail down, and still, yeah, and you should be able to separate those. As you can see, there's ribbon cables, 2 ribbon cables connecting the 2 parts, and one important thing is the battery connector. So as you can see here, this is the battery connector here underneath these cables right here. So what I'll do, I'll detach that first and use a spudger or a tool that you can put underneath that connector. Again, that connector here, not sure if you can see this. Let me zoom in. That's all I can do. So this black connector here, you need to, and then the small, very small capacitor beside it. Don't knock it off. Just be very careful. I'll try and use this spudger here. It's probably too wide, but let's see if we can disconnect that battery. Yep. So the battery is disconnected. Now we'll need to remove the battery. And again, I'll just use a spudger to pop it out. There. Okay, so once the battery is disconnected and removed, we need to remove that mid-frame, this piece of plastic that holds the battery. And there's also a ribbon cable underneath, so be careful. So to remove this one, you need to remove 3 Phillips screws. This one here, and this one. Don't remove these 2. These are the screws that hold the board. So let's remove these 3 screws. Okay, and then just flip it should lift up and flip it to the side. As you can see, this here is that ribbon cable I was telling you about. So now this is the thumbstick that we'll be removing, but we'll need to remove 3 ribbon cables. So this one, which is the thumbstick itself, this one because it's in the way of this ribbon cable. It'll be easier to install the new one if we remove this one, and also this one because we have a screw underneath. So again, use a spider or some other tool. Lift the tabs very gently. These are extremely fragile, both the connectors, tabs, and the ribbon cables. So be very careful and yeah, and just be careful. So now remove the ribbon cables. That one's out. I can put this aside for the moment. This one's out, and the last one. For this one, I'll probably need to use something different. There. So this one's out as well, and with all these ribbon cables out, you can now remove this. There's two Phillips screws that hold the thumbstick in place, so I'll just remove those. And the thumbstick should come out. There's a kind of gasket underneath, so make sure you don't take it out. Make sure it's in place, and if you do take it out, just put it back in before installing new thumbstick. So this is new thumbstick, this is original Nintendo, this is new one. They look pretty much the same. This one has blue ribbon cable, this is green, but hopefully it'll work. So to install it, just lift this ribbon cable here gently, because again it's in the way, and put the new thumbstick back in so it sits there nicely, and just install or put the screws back. So the thumbstick's back in. In the meantime, this fell off, so I'll just put it back in there. Just be careful, because if you lose this little spring there, you'll have very hard time finding it. Okay, it's back in place. So we need to put back this, install these ribbon cables to where they were. So again, just be, and these tabs close very easily, so make sure they are open, and if they are not, open them again, and just slide these ribbon cables in. This can be tricky, but it's doable. So this one's in. I know you can't see much, but unfortunately, so this one's back in. Now let's put this one back in. This will be tricky because yeah, it's doesn't have this. So most of those cables have this kind of tabs that you can use to push them in. This one doesn't have. It's like flat on both sides. But anyway, let's see what we can do. Okay, I think it's in. close the tab, and the last thing is this mid frame. So again, just make sure the tab is open, slide it in there, use these tabs at the sides to push it fully in, and then just close the tab, and that's it. So I'll put this is coming out again, so I'll put this mid frame back in, just like that. Make sure the buttons are in place and clicky. And I'll put the mid-frame screws back in. So again, 3 screws, one here, and one here. Like this one. Okay, so the screws are back in. Now the battery. The battery went this side up. Yeah, and I made a mistake. See, this ribbon cable is pinched. It needs to be underneath. So let's remove those screws again and make it right. The battery. And to connect the battery back on, just push the connector in place. Again, be careful. These are all fragile, but it should click back in. So that's pretty much it. Now, last one thing you need to be careful about is when you kind of putting this back on, make sure you don't pinch these ribbon cables. So make sure they kind of fold in place like that, and it's closed. So I'll just put the screws back on and we'll test the connector. And again, these are Nintendo Tri-Wings. Okay, so thumbstick is reassembled. Let's just connect it and see if it works. So I'll connect this one. This one is still not done. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay. So let's connect this one. Okay. And let's test the whole thing. Okay, so as you can see, it's not centered, but we can recalibrate it. Okay, so you can see, works perfectly fine. So I'll do the same thing with this one. Again, the procedure is pretty much exactly the same, so I won't bother you watching this. Again, this is very simple. These thumbsticks are pretty cheap, so I think it's well worth it. There's a way of making this, actually this one, this is the original one, this kind of work. People put, I think, place a piece of cardboard underneath or something like that, but yeah, it's not worth it in my opinion. Again, the replacements are really cheap and it's fairly easy, like 10 minutes work. And yeah, it's well worth it. Okay, so thanks. If you like the videos, please subscribe and like. See you next time.